Hello ELM258 Mechatronic Systems students. I'm going to give you an introduction to AutoSIM, which is a simulator that allows you to simulate both pneumatic and electrical circuits as well as PLCs and some PLC programming. So we're going to be using it quite a bit throughout the rest of the course, and so this is just an introduction on how to get started. So if you have AutoSIM installed, it's going to show up on the Windows menu down under SMC. So just scroll down there and click on AutoSIM 200 version 4. And it comes up with a little warning telling you that it's an educational license, which is exactly what it is. All right, so when you open it up, it looks like this. I'm going to just make it a little bigger here. So to get started, there's this menu over on the left. We're going to go to this thing called Simula, right-click it, and click Add a Simula page. So this is where we're going to put our components and build our pneumatic circuit. So this first group of circuits we're going to look at are 100% pneumatic. There's no electronics involved. We're going to right-click, choose Add an Object, and expand this thing that says Preset Objects and go down to the bottom where it says Pneumatic. And the first thing we're going to do is put down an actuator. So if you open up the actuators section and go to cylinders, we're going to do this double acting cylinder, just a basic double acting cylinder. And we're going to place that here. So in order to drive a cylinder, we need a valve. So right-click, add an object, and close the actuator section, go to directional valves, and we're going to go to the 5-2 valves, and we're going to be doing a 5-2 valve that is pneumatic pilot, which means that the valve is driven back and forth between its two positions using compressed air. So we'll open that, put that down here. I'll just put it a little further away. I'm going to be putting some other components in here, so I want to make some room. So to hook them up in AutoSIM, if you look closely, you'll see these little blue circles in certain places. That means we can make connections to those circles. So to make a connection, you just hover over it and the mouse cursor turns into a target symbol. So just click when it turns into a target and then come over to where you want to connect it, and when it turns into another target, you click on it. Just do the same one over here. So that connects the valve. Now remember, this valve is going to send air either this way to keep the valve retracted, or this way to extend the valve. Right now it's going to be in its retracted position, but we have to provide the compressed air and the exhaust ports so that the air can flow. So you right-click again, add an object, and now we're going to go to the section of the menu that says Flow Lines, and we've got pressure source and exhaust. So if we click on pressure source, it's just a triangle symbol, and that represents the compressed air coming in. So with this 5-2 valve, the compressed air is going to go in right on the central port, and then we have to provide an exhaust for the other two ports, because that's where the air is going to come out. So go over here, click on exhaust, open, and put a couple of exhausts. Now I've already got one here. I can just right click and do copy and paste. Oops, just move that up a little bit. When you're moving objects around in AutoSIM, there's just some things to get used to. I'm just connecting this right now. So to move an object, if I just try to drag it, it won't go anywhere. You first have to click it to select it. Then you'll see these little dots appear Then you can move the object around. Now what you'll notice is the lines unfortunately don't stretch. So if you do move an object, you end up having to redraw some of the lines. So just one of the little disadvantages of AutoSIM. Okay, so the valve is basically hooked up. Now we need to connect something to direct the air either into this part of the control or this part to move the valve back and forth between its two positions. So we're going to add a pneumatic push button on each side. So right click, go to add an object, down to pneumatic, and there's a section for push buttons. And we're actually going to use the push button normally closed. Open that. Okay, so I'm going to hook up the connections from this push button into the valve. And first I have to supply compressed air to this port, the one that's teed off. What I'm going to do is take this compressed air, move it down a little bit. I have to redraw this line so it's longer. And then I'm going to draw a line from the compressed air source over here to this port. So you notice this valve, in its normal position, it does not allow the air to flow in, so it won't provide any air to that pilot port. I'm going to draw a connection here. So the other port, we need to attach an exhaust symbol. I'm just going to use this one because it's already here. Copy, paste. Just going to rotate that. Now you have to rotate an object, just like moving an object, you have to click it first, then right click, and then you get this rotation option. And I'm just going to stick it right onto port. With AutoSIM, if you don't connect that triangular exhaust symbol, it won't allow air to flow out of the port in the simulation. So we've got to put it there. So now we're going to connect the other side. So we're going to take this symbol, copy, paste. I'm going to do a mirror horizontally so that the ports are coming in the right direction. And we're going to hook it up just like this one. The pilot control goes to pin 2. The compressed air is going to come in to this port, and then we need an exhaust. I'll just copy this one and mirror that. Click, mirror horizontally. Okay, so that should be ready to go. Now, to do a simulation, there's a few steps you have to go through. The first step you only have to do once when you first created a new simulation, and then the other steps you have to do each time you run the simulation. So the first thing we have to do is go to Program, Compile, and it goes through a little routine of compiling it. Once it's compiled, we go to Program and Connect. Okay, and then this brings up the simulation. Now to run the simulation, we're just going to click Dynamic Display. This thing over here looks like a soccer ball. And now the simulation is running. So if I press the first push button, you notice the valve extends. If I press the second push button, it retracts. So what's happening is pressing the first push button moves the pneumatic so that it allows compressed air to flow into the first pilot control, pushes the valve this way. There's no spring return or anything, so it stays in that position. Then I push the second push button and it moves back. So that's just basic 2-button pneumatic control. And notice I don't have to hold the button down because once the valve moves over, it stays there. Kind of a built-in latching effect. All right, let's stop that. So you can see that one of these buttons will cause the cylinder to extend and the other one will cause it to retract. So we might as well label those according to their function. So this one's going to be extend. And this one's going to be retract.